3rd Street. The northbound tri-state delays are from 95th to 87th, from the Stevenson to 47th at Roosevelt to North Avenue. Southbound it's tight, 60 to Deerfield Road. Reagan Tollway eastbound traffic stop and go 83 to the tri-state. Eden's 24 minutes Lake Hook to Montrose. Kennedy, an hour. O'Hare to downtown. Locals are quicker than the express. Eisenhower, 55 minutes, 390 to the Circle, 40 for Manheim. Stevenson, an hour and 4 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Orion, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 28 minutes, I-80 to the Merge. Bishop Ford, 30. That's traffic. I'm Chip Calamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center. Chilly day ahead. We'll have sun and clouds, a chance of a shower, slight chance this afternoon, and temperatures up near 50 with a chilly low of 30 overnight. 45 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
When you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 2 on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Elizabeth Warren in Iowa over the weekend and asking about that $21 trillion Medicare for All plan she rolled out. And what happens to people, who are thrown out of their jobs in the health insurance industry because you have nationalized it? She's got a plan for that.
Millions of people who work in private insurance and all the people even here in Des Moines who work in private health insurance, where do they go and work when private insurance is eliminated?
So if you've had a chance to read the plan, you'll see no one gets left behind. Some of the people currently working in health insurance will work in other parts of insurance, life insurance and auto insurance and car insurance. Some will work for Medicaid. Yeah. And there is a 5-year transition support for everyone, because what this is about is how we strengthen America's middle class and how we make sure that in transitions, no one gets left behind. It's right there in the plan, and it's fully paid for.
Of course
such
it is.
a smarmy school teacher. Ugh.
Scold, yes.
Yeah, really, Queen. That is reason number one never to vote for Elizabeth Warren.
You like your job in the health insurance industry? Well, you can keep it sort of. You're just going to be a government employee, or you have to compete with those people in life and auto at present, or a car if you don't know that car and auto are synonyms.
Holy cow!
By the way, middle income, right? That's the focus.
They're the ones that are going to be taxed to pay for this stupid plan of hers.
She's got a plan for that too. Just stop working, because you know what? If you're a middle income family, you're not doing much better than the lowest quintile that isn't working. Great piece in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend from Phil Gramm, former senator from Texas, of course. The truth about income inequality. Since Elizabeth Warren and her socialist friends obsess about that, AOC obsesses about it so much that she backs the lawlessness of hundreds of people not paying $2.75 to ride the train in New York and Brooklyn.
Yeah, rebel.
The census data is misleading, as so much government data is. Census data for 2017 portray the top quintile of households as having 17 times as much as the bottom quintile. But it doesn't take into account two important things. One, it doesn't take into account taxation. And since the top income quintile pay almost 2/3 of all taxes, ignoring the earned income lost to taxes overstates the inequality. Number two, on the bottom end, it doesn't take into account $2 trillion in annual public transfer payments, which mainly go to the bottom quintile. 95 federal programs, which make up more than 40% of federal spending. Government transfers provide 89% of all the resources available to the bottom income quintile of households, and more than half of the total resources available to the second quintile. So what's happening, though? As Graham notes, today's government redistributes sufficient resources to elevate the average household in the bottom quintile to a net income, after tax and after transfer, $51,000. $51,000, which is well within the range of middle income family earnings. I mean, what's the median household income in Illinois? 56,000?
56, yeah.
The average household in the second quintile is actually only slightly better off than the average bottom quintile household. The average second quintile household, real middle income families working in mainly the private sector, but working, receive only 9.4% more, even though those families earn more than 6 times as much income. More than twice the proportion of its prime working age individuals employed, and they work twice as many hours a week on average as their bottom quintile. The average middle income household is only 32% better off than the average bottom quintile household, despite earning more than 13 times as much, having 2.5 times as many prime working age individuals employed, and working more than twice as many hours a week. So what kind of deal is that? Why not just, say, live with $5,000 less and take a chill? Maybe get one of those phony baloney government jobs Elizabeth Warren is offering. For more on this topic, as well as the October jobs numbers, private sector, we're pleased to be joined again by Scott the Cow Guy, Shellady, Fox business contributor.
Wow, that's an aggressive cow.
Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Morning.
I still have your jacket, by the way. I wore it on Halloween.
So, Scott, what about this government transfer payments and taxation? This whole conversation about inequality as the backdrop for the 2020 POTUS race.
Well, obviously there was a lot of stuff you just threw at us right now, and it disincentivizes you to do anything. Like you said, just sit around and chill, number one. And number two, that now that I'm getting a little on in my years, I'm older than you can, the guys that I spoke to about what was proposed just said, hey, you know what, I'll just retire early.
Yeah.
Well,
really?
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So this, and then another thing I have to remember, because it's easier for me, being both a British citizen and a U.S. citizen, I lived under single payer for 15 of the last 30 years. Okay?
And how was it?
Everybody there that had a serious ailment flew to the States to have it taken care of, as did the Prime Minister of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things that she's espousing the end game is no good, is what I'm trying to say. Everything that she's trying to do to upset the apple cart to get to some sort of nirvana when it comes to, look, everybody wants everybody to have health care. The left doesn't get to own that idea. But it's just, how is it done? And so if she's going to do all of this to get to an end game that I've just lived 15 of the last 30 years of my life, it ain't worth it.
Right. And then, to tell health insurance agents, oh, you can just sell auto insurance. There are 907 health insurance companies that employ hundreds, if not thousands, in the United States of America.
That's exactly what somebody that's never worked in a business before would say.
Yep.
Right? You can just tell about her ignorance, about how you can just easily transfer people from even just one part of labor to another part of labor within a firm. It's not that easy. What about the people that already work there, right? I mean, the knock-on effects are catastrophic, and she has absolutely no idea what she's really talking about. And again, the end game, I've lived, and it's not worth it.
It's the arrogance. We've seen this before, and this is one of the reasons for the rise of Trump. The arrogance to this was the message to steelworkers, including from some Republicans too, about the globalized economy. It doesn't make mercantilism right, but it doesn't make their messaging right either. The idea, hey, you steelworker that's out of a job, go take a coding class over at 1871 and learn how to code. That's a new economy. You're done. You're over. Go get another skill. How about you go make love to yourself is the response. And you can appreciate why people are so frustrated with the likes of the standard issue politicians on both sides.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And having lived now where I live in Northwest Indiana and seeing a lot of these guys that work at British Petroleum or U.S. Steel, and although things are a little bit, say, in their hearts they might feel a little bit better, but a lot of things are still as bad as they were.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that they're going to be retrained to not to do something like you said in the tech sector after having been, for 32 years in a bop shop, pressing steel. It's just not going to happen. They're going to be the unintended consequence of these new ideas. Just like a lot of other, my industry, being a trader on the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade, that's gone. I mean, do all those guys on the floor think that they're going to go get different jobs and walk into something that was paying them what they were before? Or are they going to be committing suicide at record rates, which they are, because they were unemployable for the next job? So there's unintended consequences of all this shifting that people really don't pay attention to, and they have pie-in-the-sky ideas that it can actually happen.
At the macro level, this piece by Derek Thompson in The Atlantic. GOP tax cuts did not work. Promises of the Republican tax plan have failed, as has Trump's spectacularly grand vision of a new American mercantilism. But the U.S. economy is still doing fine for now. And the answer, according to Derek Thompson, how to reconcile that, is that while Trump can't deliver, the American consumer continues to chug along. Consumer spending, the one bright spot in last week's GDP report, beat forecasts, rising nearly by 3%. And so it's consumers continuing to spend that's powering our economy, according to this Keynesian interpretation of how economies work.
Well, I mean, I'm not a blind Trump supporter, but I also have common sense and see the moves that he's made. I'm not a big, fan of the Twitter, but the things take his name off the top of the paper, and the things that he's done for the economy since he's taken office versus what Obama had 8 years to do. I'm sorry, but it's undeniable. And the jobs numbers we got on Friday make it so. Now, he probably parades around on those numbers a little bit too much, because when they go south, they're hard to turn around too. But at the end of the day, he has made big strides in the face of a lot of opposition, that it's turned the economy around, at least turned the people's hearts and minds around. See, that's what leaders do. So everybody that says that, oh, how can you have that guy in office, and how, the Trump haters out there, right? All you have to say back to them is, I'm an adult. I didn't want to elect a priest, or I didn't want to elect a teacher. I elected the person that would do the best for the country as far as what I think goes for the economy. And I think he's delivered on that. So everybody has to get over all the other stuff and realize that their 401k is not a 201k because he's in office.
And the other thing about this piece, the GOP tax cuts didn't work. So there's two options here. Either the people who got more of their money back spend it and determine its use, or the government does. So the question back to the Derek Thompsons of the world is, so government spending is working? More money to government, that's how we grow the economy. That's how we protect America's dynamism is government spending. That's how.
Right. And also what he's inferring is government knows how to spend your money better than you do.
Right.
That's incredibly insane. So, I mean, I run a business too. You're allowed to criticize my moves. That's fine. I wouldn't have done that. But you can't just end there. You have to tell me what you would do now, right? So he's just going to sit there and make pot shots about what didn't work for the economy. What's your idea to make it work then, Mr. Journalist? That's no good to me. I don't care about what's not right. What would you have done? And he doesn't put that in there. So it's worth the paper it's written on.
Are you concerned at all about warning signs of liquidity crisis? We talked about this maybe a month ago, and Wall Street again overnight, the repo market flashing warning signs of liquidity crisis. Any concerns about a correction in the near term?
Well, I mean, there's always the reason it's a black swan is you can't see it coming, because there's always a chance of something like that happening. And I think the mathematicians say there's between a 5 and 15% chance of that happening all the time, regardless of how good things may or may not be. So that's going to be there. But I would say this: I mean, what doesn't come out in the public are the behind the scenes things that they're actually trying to do. Like we've gone back to quantitative easing, but they're not really calling it quantitative easing, right? And they're pumping about $60 billion into the economy every month again, when we used to do about $80 billion. So there are things happening behind the scenes to make sure that this is the economy stays flush. But the problem is to a large extent not really us, but a lot of the things that are happening around us, and that's another thing that we have to worry about, because that's making the dollar strong by default. That's making our bonds higher in price and lower in yield by default. So there's a lot of things that we're having to manage. I mean, Powell's got a very difficult job. He has to handle the president on one hand and the rest of the world's economy is on the other. And so I think that what they're doing now, I mean, they're putting so much cash into the market that it's just going to be, it doesn't mean it can't have a big hiccup, but it just means that the odds of that happening are less likely.
He is Scott the Cow Guy, Shellady, Fox Business contributor. Scott, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good day, guys.
Take care.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560.